I hit that. There it is. We are. Yep, we are live. Hello, everyone. Everyone. Get this going. We are here. We are live. Ha ha ha. Hopefully everybody's doing good. We are letting people come in here, and I'm going to post this up in here so we have the link. Hi, Vina. Hi, Bright. There's the Zoom room there.
We're really behind and lagging here.
Are we lagging? It's probably just that. I'm going to.
Hang on.
Vina, can you come in and at least let us know if there are questions in the room? You can leave your microphone and video off, but that would help so I don't have to keep flipping screens.
Yeah.
So I believe I posted the link there.
You don't have to keep flipping screens. If I can
Well,
pull
if I
up,
see somebody. Oh yeah,
I can pull up YouTube here.
Yeah, you could do that.
I'm pretty
Hi,
smart.
Olga.
I'm pretty smart sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes it takes a minute, but it goes
you
in
have
there.
amazing energy.
It goes in there.
You're just
It'll stay in there.
so wise.
You're so easy to skate out of trouble.
How would I be in trouble?
Notice that, y'all?
Hi, Olga.
See how he did that?
Yeah,
I'm looking.
How are you?
I'm
doing okay. How are you?
Oh, we're being connected.
We're good. We are trying to find us on YouTube. I don't even know what our channel is. I guess I should figure that out.
Welcome. Oh, good. Welcome to being here. Have you been through some things for this particular chat?
Let's see.
We'd like to help you heal it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to a bunch of hi. We're gonna talk to a bunch of folks if I can figure it out.
I'm first.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so what part of the world are you in?
I'm in Columbus right now.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, that's
Remember
right. That's right. Our Columbus girly.
Yes.
You're right up the street. There's a great thrift shop in Grove City I like to go to. I can never get him to stop, but it's a big thrift store in Grove City. I love it. Coming down there, but we come up there quite often. We were just in Columbus last weekend.
Oh, okay. You're driving this time.
I would love to meet you one day.
Yeah, we come up there quite often actually. And what do we got? Chat going on here?
Yeah, I've got a screen up so we can see it. Hi, Shannon.
Yeah.
How are you? So yes, we are definitely wanting to talk. Let's we've done over 500 videos, but we've never been real specific with this particular topic.
Right.
I mean, I think we've talked a little bit.
We've touched on it,
but we've never gone deep.
We talk about it a lot, nor every day.
Yeah.
In sessions and root camps and things. With me being a survivor, I went through an awful lot to get to a place of healing that I feel is just the beginning. I felt like that for years. Like everything is just like the beginning for me a lot, right? I know that there's been some healing because I can now talk about my sex abuse every day, right? With different people and not have that weight on my chest or that lump in my throat, right? Or that feeling of not wanting to go in there. So I don't have that anymore, which is freeing for me, right? To be able to speak on it and help others get through just the horrific emotional trauma, mental trauma, physical trauma, so much trauma, right? And we tend to what the industry calls disassociate, which is real. We do. I'm a #1 candidate for disassociation. I know how to do it. I'm a professional at it. I could probably teach it, but I would prefer not. disassociating with family, disassociating with people who care about me, disassociating with in intercourse with others, disassociating a lot, with him in the beginning. Yeah, so a lot of that takes us into a whole other direction where we're internalizing now or keeping it all in. And now's the time to speak. I believe it's the year. It's time to speak on it. Everybody else is speaking on it. And it's time that we come out with a little bit more of a spiritual vibe, you know what I mean? To be able to feel one another and help each other with what we're going through. Were you sexually molested?
Yes. So about 5 years ago, I wasn't even aware of this. But I was mostly disassociating.
I do want to make sure she knows that it's a live chat.
Yeah.
You,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew that. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, so I've been getting ready for to talk about this for a long time because I think I'm at the point where I feel like I need to set myself free from it feels like I've been holding this secret within myself for all these years, and that I was limiting myself because of this. But just speaking about it gives me back that power. And so ever since I've been on this journey, I've been realizing more and more things have been coming up in my memories, and probably because I was able to digest it more. I was getting deeper and deeper and realizing just how deep it goes, like everywhere. It affects all areas of my life. And yeah, it's been a lot.
right now, everybody watching and us are connected to the girl that in you that this happened to.
How old were you?
Oh, it started even before I turned one. So it's incredible that I have lots of memories that I didn't just forget it. So it sort of gives me access to work with it. But I don't fully remember because I was like disconnecting with my body and I was freezing up. And I have memories where I just was looking at myself from the ceiling and I don't know, looking at the wallpapers, just really memorizing the patterns on it and so on.
Disassociating from what's going on with you and focusing on something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot to share. Might be triggering. I don't know.
I used to look for patterns in the wallpaper shapes or in the ceiling, in the stomped ceiling, or just some type of image. And when I was much younger, I found a heart and it gave me comfort. And at that point in time, I just started looking for the heart because when I associated when I saw the heart that everything was going to be okay. That was my like universal symbol for everything's going to be okay. So now when I see a heart or every time I see a heart, like, you see it in your cereal or in, you know what I mean, in odd things, potato chips, yeah, all those weird things. I just am automatically, I automatically remember that everything's going to be okay, right? It just clicks in me when I see a heart, for that very reason, looking for patterns, focusing on where you're at in the room, what's going on in the room, and completely gone from what's going on and from what's happening to you.
But your body still has reaction.
Yes. Yeah. And then what happens is we still carry that.
Right.
We've disassociated for so long that it's still there.
But then how do you heal feeling like your body betrayed you?
Well, that's even a little bit of a rougher road, because there's already enough guilt, right? For it being, feeling like it's our fault, what we could have done to stop it, why we didn't say anything earlier, why we didn't say anything at all, right? All these things are going on, right? And going into healing first, you have to really understand and accept the fact that it happened, right? That's the biggest thing. It's just accepting the fact that it happened and understanding that it's not your fault, which is really big. Then when it comes into not forgiving myself for not forgiving myself sooner, right?
Yeah.
How did I do that? How did I forgive my body for betraying me, or feeling like my body betrayed me, right? And I don't feel like I ever felt like my body betrayed me. A lot of the times I felt like my mind betrayed me by allowing someone to have such complete control over me and expecting protection.
So with you, Olga, did you feel, was this a family member?
I'm sorry.
Was this a family member who was doing this to you early?
Yes.
So a person you should have been able to trust.
It was a little bit like he is husband of my aunt, so kind of
And
remote.
they
Really.
trusted that person with you. Your
Yeah.
parents trusted that person. And did your parents ever figure out what was going on?
No, I told my mom a few years ago, but my father, I grew up without father, so he never knew. He died
That's a whole other
last year.
separate. That pain is separate than this, but I could feel, we felt the pain of that in this. Like if he would have been there, this would have happened.
Yeah, it sort of like crippled me, and I guess it made me like unaware of my power and completely like close to it, that I wasn't even able to look at it. So yeah.
Was it the same person, with just one person violated you, just one person? When you got older, did you find that you were hypersexual?
Oh, only in my mind, perhaps, not
Right.
very. Yeah.
Mhm. Nobody ever knew, though, right? While it was happening?
No.
And you didn't tell anybody until just a few years ago?
Yes.
Did you carry guilt for not telling anybody?
Well, I didn't remember about it until 5 years ago, because I
Okay.
was so dissociated from myself and unaware completely. Oh my gosh, my throat's shocked.
Okay, it's trying to close up.
Yeah, it's a lot to share.
Mhm.
But a lot of people are connecting to you so you can heal.
I'm trying to connect to the chat.
I believe there's a deep space there where you're really going to feel a difference, because what you went through needed connection. And when you didn't get that, you didn't heal. that disconnected you from yourself. So being here and doing this now is you reconnecting with that, especially if this is the end of retrograde. Think about all of the energies that's coming right now.
For
This
sure.
and it's also a year of the truth, right? Being able to speak your truth should come from your pain so you can heal.
Mm.
And that's
Yeah,
what
thank you.
we found we do for
Mhm.
each other in very deep ways. And that's a definite pathway through connection, because normally people will hold this back. And you don't realize that that's rejecting the other person. You think you're protecting them. You're rejecting them.
Yeah.
So let yourself have connection.
Yeah, that actually gave me strength to look into it more. So I have more information coming in. So since I seen situation my mom was in, and I didn't want to share with her because I thought it was gonna break her. And
Mm.
I was looking for people that I can tell it to so that they would protect me. But I couldn't find that strong person that would stand up for me.
Did you want a strong person or did you want a vulnerable one?
Mhm.
Because one of those would enable you to heal. Do you know which one?
Um, a person that would listen to me, that would trust me.
Vulnerable. When
Yeah.
somebody's vulnerable with you, they'll feel what you're feeling. They won't push you away. They won't judge you. Isn't that what you need to heal?
Mm.
Because you didn't do anything wrong. You held this inside and made a lot of choices from a pain you didn't even know how to deal with. That takes a really beautifully strong person to get through that. Isn't that who you are?
Yeah.
You just don't let people love you.
No, I wanted to share, but the people, I felt they were not ready to hear that. And I think I shared with my grandma, and she ignored it like it wasn't the truth.
So you people pleased even after this happened to you. Do you see yourself doing that now? You were making sure that you were protecting them while you suffered.
We all do that.
That's not
Yeah, I
allowing
do.
anybody to love you. And what we're saying is it's okay. Even if it took you this long, you're allowed to have all of that love that you held yourself away from now. But you got to tell yourself that's what you need for your healing, isn't it? Can you heal without connection?
No, but I guess this situation within my family is unique.
Yeah. May I ask you a
Um,
question about that?
yeah,
When you said no, and then you came back and said, but,
I said yes, but
yes, but is still no, isn't it? Because if you look at the yes, it got rejected by your but, and it just completely took away any chance of healing in that space the moment you said but. If you could stop doing that there, you would feel all of that pain so you could heal.
so ever since this happened, like after I began realizing it, and then the family members started reconnecting with me, and I said that this is what I'm going through right now because this and this happened. And none of them felt like they wanted to connect with me. That's what I mean by that. They sort of like ignored that it happened completely. And I only found connection with my mom in this, and she's the only person that is able to talk with me through the pain. But yeah, most of the people that I told did not take it in, and just I guess they're not, I
It's
feel like they're
the
not strong enough to comprehend it and
and
to
I and
receive
I
it, to
I,
the
I
truth.
agree with you to an extent. Um, I feel like it more boils all the way down to the root of they're not going to believe me.
Your family broke you in the same way.
And it's exactly what happened in my family. However, I my sister knew, her and her friend knew something was up. They were there all the time. She did admit that later in life, but my mother knew something had gone on because she caught him molesting me, and she walked out of the room. And by the time I got dressed and upstairs, he had already convinced her that had only happened one time and it would never happen again, and they needed to get me some help because I'd come on to him. And so there was a sense of protection in me that was gone, because the only person that I was connected to in that time would have been my sister and my mother. My sister was 4 years younger than me, so I didn't expect her to protect me. But I did expect my mother to protect me, you know. So I was 15 when yeah, it had been going on for so long already. It had been going on for 10 years. What, 10 years or no, 5 years. No, am I right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure.
about 5 years. Started when I was about 10. Um, so it had been going on so long, I was relieved that somebody knew, but he had convinced her that it would never happen again. They would give me some help. She kept him in the house, and he continued to rape me. So there was a sense of protection that I should have had, having a connection with a woman who brought me into the world, right? Um, why she wouldn't have protected me. So I lost that sense of trust, which made it harder for me to trust anybody at any point in time for anything, right? It it takes us to a level where everything is guarded because we don't want to be hurt like that again, right? I'd went on for so many years angry and blaming and bitter and mean, and realizing that every time I was angry, I was giving him more and more power. I just felt like I was keeping him involved. And I didn't want to do that. Um, so I understand where um not saying anything comes in for fear of rejection, and they're not ready to hear, or you feel they're not ready to hear what's about to be said. Um, there's so many reasons we don't saying anything in the beginning. It all boils down to fear. Fear of some point, fear of something, fear of some reaction, fear of some um negativity.
So, my mom, she had my sister when I was 7.5, and she was severely depressed, and she married to another man that was very abusive, and she wanted to commit suicide at one point. And I felt all of this energy from her, and I knew if I shared something like that, she would not be able to respond at all. That's how I felt about it. Um, it's not that I felt like I wasn't important, is that I thought that it's not gonna do anything,
Yeah.
and it will actually do worse, especially for my mom.
Could see how you could probably have images of your mother taking herself out if she would have found that out. That would be felt in what you felt at that age. You couldn't push mom over the edge because of what.
Yeah, that's
But,
real fear.
but I believe she probably had is feeling, why wasn't my daughter able to open up to me? What did I do wrong? That can weigh heavy in between you. Don't let that be there. There were circumstances that were different. Sometimes that can delay your healing, because we don't really focus on the aftermath, because the after effects of what happened to you taught you to push people away or pull them close.
Do you still have, or do you have you ever had flashbacks, images, visions?
I get dreams where I'm not in my power, and a lot with different men. Yeah, so mostly that.
When we are abused in such a way that all of our power is taken from us. Not only like my virginity was taken from me, right? So you were very young as well. So there 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 are so many, I don't want to call them side effects, but they come in, right? They come in.
Trauma bond.
Trauma bond, yeah. With, visions and seeing things and remembering things and stopping, even sometimes in the middle of trying to connect with someone intimately, right? It can really wreak some havoc in your life in so many different ways, right? We just we feel like we just are floating along, but we're carrying these heavy, heavy things with us and feel like we're silenced, right? Our power, all of it, all of it, all of it had just been stripped to where not only were we forced to do something that we didn't want to do in the first place, we were forced to do something we didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about. I mean, he groomed me, showing me books and pictures and such, but at such a young age, you had no, almost was never given the power to begin with. Does that make sense?
What could be blurry in this space is power versus control.
Right. Yeah.
Control is mistakenly what is the outcome of that kind of trauma is the focus, not the actual feeling itself. You want to, the feeling now feels like it no longer has its innocence. It doesn't have its
Purity,
freedom.
yeah.
It's now been boxed and put into a space where you don't know how to connect or find that space again because you think something has changed your essence when it really hasn't. It's just affected your body that houses your essence.
Affects every aspect of your body and your emotional state. Those of us who've been sexually abused are prone to so many other things, eating disorders, right? Some of us like I did, gained a massive amount of weight in order to protect myself and not be attractive in any way, shape, or form, right? So it was so subconscious. I wasn't even aware, right? On top of eating my emotions because they were all there, nobody was listening to them, nobody really cared, right? And that's the truth. Like my family just completely said, "Oh yeah, you're tainted. You're tainted. We're going over here." Um, and we're tainted and we didn't protect you. So we're going over here, right?
Well, I think what they weren't allowing themselves to do when you went through this was realize you gave up on them the moment that door shut.
Yeah.
The moment that door shut and she stayed on the other side of it,
Yeah.
why would you ever not be angry again?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, there's like it was in her face
Yeah.
and she shut the door.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when they're getting mad at you for being angry, I'm running towards you and want to put my arms around.
Right. And then it takes that person, that connection, that strong person who, number one, loves you enough and cares for you enough and chooses you to be able to be vulnerable and open up to them, because there's a trust issue. Without even meeting, there was a trust issue. Before I knew him, there was a trust issue. And then after I met him, there was an even bigger one because he was a hot mess, right? So, before you even meet a potential friend, right? There's already a trust issue, right? I obviously will go into I used to, maybe not so much anymore. When I meet a new person, I always say, "Oh, she's such a sweet girl. There's got to be something bad going on." You know what I mean? Because there's a front. Everybody who's nice is a front when I was younger, right? There's something behind that, because the person that was nice to me, it was a face, it was a front. So I was able to um I mean, I am able to have a relationship with my mom, although there's no trust, absolutely no trust. There's very little respect, although I muster it up as best as I can, right? Um, being able to be with family members who I that's not an option for me, but being able to speak with family members who you thought maybe weren't strong enough to hear it, right? I mean, is it coming out now within the family? Is it coming out now? Is everybody learning of this now?
Has anybody held you for what you went through?
No, they haven't actually. They sort of,
Next time we're in Columbus, we're coming, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Okay, you don't have to wait. We
Okay.
promise.
But yeah, I've been trying to share more, and I feel like it hasn't been met with this, like it wasn't really welcome, if that makes sense. It's not something that they would like to hear. And so from what we were talking about earlier, I wanted to share that there was like self-doubt connected to it, because the truth was so I was getting the information that I'm not saying the truth, that it's not valid and it didn't happen. And it created inner conflict within me that I internalized it, and I thought that my feelings are not valid, and it sort of trapped my emotions within.
So I have a question though, Olga.
Yeah.
Going into knowing that you're going to share this with them, did you tell them what you needed? Because I can tell you when we first were trying to, when I was trying to figure out how to navigate this with her, sometimes I get angry about it happening, or sometimes I just don't want to. I was like, okay, I know that it happened, and I just wanted to push it away because I didn't know what she needed until I tapped into what she was feeling. So at least tell them or at least right now, even, what do you feel you will need to heal this?
Yeah,
Let go.
I started
about it.
doing this with my mom, and she seems to, um, it sort of gives her some understanding, because otherwise she just feels powerless, and I don't know, I feel like she's panicking. Um, but when I'm like, well, I need to talk about this with you, because I was quiet for all of these years, and it makes me feel that I don't have to hold it in myself anymore. And when she heard that, I think she understood, and we talked more. So it felt really good.
Then don't stop.
Yeah, continue to communicate with your
Yeah.
mother for
Even
sure.
if you got to talk about it 50 times, it's better than, think about how long you held it in. You're going to need to keep going in and finding those pain, because some of the choices you've made have been from concealing your pain, which never got you loved, not once. And you're allowed to have that now. So you don't have to be what happened to you. You're allowed to be the real you.
Yeah.
Well, we're proud of you. And
Thank
it's an
you.
honor that you chose us to come out and share this with. It's amazing.
Yeah, I want to keep doing these every so often, maybe once or twice a month at least. Um, and just find people who are brave enough like you to come on and say, hey, this happened to me, and this is what's happening with me, and this is how I feel, and why do I feel this way? There's so many different there's so many different and I'm not a stage person, all these stages. I'm just not, but there's so many different stages to this. I went through such a long time of um feeling devalued or not worth anything. Already used up. I was already used up. I already felt used up, right? I felt yeah, nobody was going to be able to love me as much as I wanted, right? Um and I certainly wasn't going to make myself attractive to a man, right? So I would keep on weight, and then um a lot of times it goes in the other direction. It'll go to a whole eating disorder, right? Where again, you're not healthy. And the emotional, the little triggers that you really don't even understand. Lee looks absolutely complete opposite of the man who abused me. The man who abused me was a big, overweight, gross man, white man, gross white man. Um, and but there was just one time where Lee was just we had moved, we were tired, we were cranky, we were Lee was downstairs, and I saw him, and he was wearing a white t-shirt, and it was we were moving, so we was working, and it was in an old dingy t-shirt, a white t-shirt. And my stepfather used to wear his old white t-shirts under his dress shirt for work, and when he would come home from work, he would take that off, and he would just wear his work pants and his belt and his t-shirt. And we were tired and we were cranky, and he was complaining about something, and he turned around, and all I saw was my stepfather standing there, just yelling and screaming, and spit coming out of his mouth, and in this white t-shirt. And like for a couple days I was like, what the hell was that about? It triggered me so bad. And I don't even remember what I said, a few choice words or whatever. I don't even
It
remember.
turned into savage attack, which
Yeah.
usually comes from the trauma of the trauma,
Yeah.
So she said, never wear a white t-shirt ever again in your life in front of me. Yes, ma'am. It's like, what do you do in that moment? But then it turned into even, I'm not playing, and then it turned something. So it kept getting more and more serious. The more I would surrender, the more she came at me. So I started to realize that, okay, there's a lot of pain happening. And I don't know what to do when it comes up. When that happens, usually we start to have that self-talk telling us that we're not enough. Something in me just said, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then when I remember the first time our pain connected in that way, but I know that there's been multiple times that it's connected that way. The more our pain connects, the stronger the connection gets, and the stronger your healing becomes. So just let yourself have connection. Okay? You do matter, and how you feel and what you went through is so important, but it does not define you. It never will.
Thank you.
I'm hoping, if we have any questions, now's the time. If you guys have any questions, if you want to pop on here, that's fine too. We are going to be talking about this very topic for the next, I don't know, however long you guys want to. If you're wanting to come in and join us on the Zoom, next time we're on, send us an email and we'll pull you in. But anybody can come in at any time and share their story, or ask some questions even. I actually go into healing better. I feel, not that maybe you can heal better, but maybe deeper when I'm asked the questions. If I'm having to just tell my story over and over and over again, you know what I mean? Then I feel like there's something missing, where somebody can be so afraid to just come on and say something simple like, it happened for so many years. Why didn't you ever say anything? You know what I mean? What kept you, and did you almost ever say anything? Right? Was there a time when you, and I can't count the times I walked out of, or walked upstairs from the basement, or walked out of my bedroom and with all intention of saying something, right? With all intention of just blowing this family to shreds, right? But it was that very thing that kept me from doing it. Blowing the family to shreds. That, and there was the threat of my sister. His main thing he held over me was my sister. She was 4 years younger than I. And it would get to the point where if I was making too much noise or trying to say no, or trying to fight, then his exact words were, fine, I'm going to go after your sister. And then it didn't matter how old I was. I would just keep screaming until he would call for my sister, and my sister would come into the room. And by that time, I'd be like, okay. Right? Because I didn't want him touching my sister. I talked to my sister. He never touched her. And I remember being in a live one point in time, another question come up, and that question was, do you regret protecting your sister? And no, I don't. I would do it again. I would do it again. Even now, I would do it again. The threat was always there. And it's when he took it to a level of calling her name that it freaked me out. So I don't have a relationship with my sister today. A lot, you were right, Olga, when you're feeling that some people just aren't strong enough for the information, right? And it's not the case with my sister. She she's definitely strong enough to, she knew something was going on. But there's so many reasons, it's not just one, right? This was a big man. He was huge.
But what if he did the same thing to your sister?
What do you
Said
mean?
he was going to go touch you, but he was still touching her anyway.
Yeah, he wasn't. I know that for a fact because I've talked to her in detail about it when
But
we
you kept it stuffed down.
I just know that she didn't. So, I know
Okay.
it's a knowing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a knowing in me that knows, right? So there was just so many things, but I just feel like there's so many people with so many questions, but they feel like they don't want to ask those questions for fear that it may trigger or that it may, it may come across wrong. But that's not the case, especially with me. If I'm asked the question, I'm way more prone to answer it in a little bit more detail rather than if I'm just telling the story. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm asking for you, maybe we have some questions here.
Hugs.
Somebody's
Hi, Hugs.
Hi, Hugs.
Hi, Amber.
So yeah, so there's so many questions that a lot of people just feel like it's taboo to answer, to ask, right? I feel like any type of sexual inappropriateness, just like somebody was saying in chat, that they went in for a hug. I think it was at work, went in for a hug, and something happened with the ear where they were licked or something, and it was completely in a violation of her. Now, she's gonna have problems with hugging people,
Yeah.
right? Gonna have issues with hugging people, right?
Trauma's huge.
That invites hugging, right? Doesn't that invite you
Yeah.
into me, right? So I'm a hugger when we're out, you know what I mean? And we're meeting people and we're talking to people. I hug, I'm a hugger, right? I don't believe I've ever been violated while giving a hug, but I can't imagine just having that. And well, yeah, I can, because there's a lot of times that subconsciously, if I'm trying to touch you or you turn over in your sleep or be like, right, then I'm less likely to come back, even though I know you were asleep, less likely to come back and and try to repeat that behavior because it was a reaction that we didn't care for.
Right.
Does that make sense? There's so many things involved with sexual abuse and sexual uh, topics, right? And I feel like there's no real taboo question, right? I feel like the more, I guess, taboo the question is for me, the more likely I am to be more excited to answer it. I get excited these days about helping people go into healing over this sexual abuse. I get excited these days by talking to someone like you, Olga, who have been there, but who hasn't really had a lifetime of being able to talk about it, right? And being able to bring it out, being able to I talk to people intimately in sex abuse root camp or in sex abuse sessions where we talk about so many minute little deep details that you really don't know how deep the trauma goes, right? It makes you just want to attack everybody.
Hug said, yep, even at the hospital it happened again. I got kissed on my neck. Now it's like only a hug. Please, no licks, no kisses.
Oh, no doubt.
There's one part. I was thinking there's an emotional component. Like I feel like he needed to break me emotionally as well. Like treating my cousins in front of me, giving giving them money to buy all of the sweets they wanted in front of me. And so showing that they're loved, and it made me feel like I'm not even a human. And one time we were going somewhere for vacation, and we left our parrot with them. And when we returned, the parrot he flew away. So it turned out he opened the window and he let the parrot out. So the parrot flew away. And when the parent, like when they asked like what happened, and so he was like jokingly saying, oh, the parrot just wanted to go for a walk. And so for the adults, it didn't feel like it was there was anything in it, but I felt it was targeted at my feelings to in order to crush me. So it felt like it was targeted at me in the way that it was said and done as well.
Is this the first time you've shared that feeling with someone?
Yeah.
How old were you when the abuse stopped? Do you remember? And what happened?
It happened right before I was leaving the country, and he was somehow walking past our house, and I was at the moment like looking over the balcony, and he said, oh, hi. And I was home alone, so he got up and I let him in without even any sort of memory about what happened before and that it's dangerous.
Right.
And then he started hugging me, and like he's really strong. He used to be a wrestler. And I don't know how I got out of his arms, and I closed the door, and he was, hey, it's fine, talk to me, everything's okay. And I was like pretending that the door was locked, but my lock was broken, so it's like holding it for dear life with my hands. And he decided it was locked, and so he stood there for like 5 minutes or 10 and left. And that's when I remembered that something happened before. And he actually, while he was hugging me, he said like, oh, what's going on? Do you remember what we did before? And I did not remember at that time until he left. And I started thinking about it. And like a few months, I left the country, and I never was back.
Did he, when you told him you didn't remember, did he pursue any other advancements towards you?
No, he was hugging and kissing me.
The reason
And
I ask that is a lot of times when an offender asked his victim, do you remember, right? And they hear a no, that gives them an open opportunity both ways to reoffend, right? So there's two different approaches. Oh, you do remember, wasn't it great? Let's not tell anybody. This is our little secret, right? And then the other answer, the no or the yes or yet no, would take him to, or take that person to, oh, now they're in a vulnerable state. They don't remember. So I can do this, right?
Did he try anything after that?
No, she left the country.
well, he came over to be with his family, and he didn't risk anything because like other family members were always nearby.
Mhm.
But
Your
yeah.
first relationship, how old were you when you got in your first relationship where there was sexual activity?
Very young, actually, around 15.
Mhm. I was 13 when I met the kid that I called my boyfriend until I was 18. I hung on to him and trusted him through my whole teenage life, but I never told him until the end. Until the end, when we were having a conversation. I had caught him cheating on me, literally walked in on it. And when we were having a conversation a couple days after that, I had told him that I had just been through too much where trust was concerned, and I wasn't gonna compromise anything else. It was just too painful. And subsequently married someone I barely knew 6 months later and got into an extremely physical abusive relationship. A 13-year marriage that was physically abusive the whole time. But at that point in time, I associated pain with love. I associated hurt with love. So when I was being abused, even though it was physical and it was painful, there was a lot of times when it made me feel like he loved me an awful lot. That was a trauma response. You know what I mean? A lot I've uncovered so much about my behavior over the years that were trauma responses, and I never realized it, you know. I never realized, you know, I've done this behavior because of this behavior. I've exuded this type of action because of this trauma. And it's interesting going and watching it all play out without having to actually sit and go back detail after detail after detail after detail. I've done it for so long, for so many years, and took the counseling route where, you know, I told my story for a year, and then that counselor moved on to another practice. So I had to start all over with another counselor and told my story for a year or two. And then they moved on to another practice. And then I had to tell my story again until I finally gave up on the counseling. And went through a period of time with some really destructive behavior. And I when I asked you earlier about hypersexuality, I ended up becoming an escort. I escorted for a few years, put myself in compromising positions, just allowed whatever. How the difference was in my mind, in my sick mind, was that I wasn't having intercourse, and I was a specialty escort, and I would kick and pee and whatever else. But I've noticed that where trust is concerned, it's easier for me now. I still have moments. I still have moments where I went through a period of, you know, where my brain was full of ammonia when I was sick with liver disease, and I was going through all that, living out things that were going in my head, calling the police on Lee and all these things. And realizing, coming out of that now, 3 years out of all of that, and all I needed was all of that fog on top of the fog, right? It was a lot. But going into healing with sexual abuse is never healed. It's never a done deal. It's never over. We can't make it not happen. We can't, there's no rewind button. There's no pencil we can put in a tape, in a cassette tape, none of that, right? It happened. We can't undo that. So that fact right there tells me that spending, and I want to make sure everybody understands that spending time back there, there's more happening in the now, right? Than if you can go back in your mind. Does that make sense? Am I making sense with that?
Yeah.
Like there's more happening, there's more healing happening in the now. You can't go back there. I do have to go back to come forward. I have to do that a lot of times. I have to tap into my memory a lot when I'm in sex abuse group camp with somebody, or I'm talking to somebody about their sexual abuse. I go back into my own story and pull up facts, pull up things that happened to me, so I'm able to relate to that person and their story, right? I can relate with you because I've been there and I know how it feels. Right.
How do you know when you're healing?
I'm in a constant state of healing, and I know when I'm in healing because I can speak on it and I can talk about it, and I can smile while I'm talking about it without having that lump in my throat that I want to go kill him or go attack the people who didn't protect me, right? Or, leave this live and go type a 20-mile page freaking text to my mom, right? I know that that's not there anymore. Does that make sense? Those emotions don't come up when I talk about my mom walking in and not. I had to put myself in her shoes. How would I have felt? Right?
Did you ever feel disconnected from your anger, like that freeze response? Because I still have like real
A lot
difficulty
of times I've
connecting.
tried to figure out where it was. Like, where is my anger? Right? Why am I
Yeah.
not? But at that point in time, I was disconnected from it. Right? I didn't want it. I was disconnected from my hurt as well.
Is there a way that you actually heal your anger by letting yourself be hurt? Because it seems to be that you two seem to know that you're doing that, but you're not really saying that.
Yes, but not after trying to heal or hurt with anger and it not working.
I see what you both did there. That's
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Not after trying that first.
Right.
Trying to heal or hurt with anger, then trying to heal. Then I go through trying to heal my her anger with her.
So isn't anger nothing more than you ignoring your hurt?
Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you just realize that, what happens to your anger?
Well, it doesn't go away until you.
But it doesn't really get the best of you anymore either.
No.
It's like you're reclaiming your vulnerability and your power.
I mean, could I pull up anger today? Yep, just did. Right? Yeah, of course I can. And I ask myself with the question all the time. You know what I mean? I've had people even ask me, and I like even being asked, what would happen if the man's still alive? What would happen if you ran into him on the street? Well, I know he's in another country. Have I thought about going to that country? Yeah, I have. What would I do? I don't know. I know my mind wants to tell me that I'm just going to jump on him and start just wailing on him and not stop until somebody makes me. I don't. I've been over that scenario so many times in my life, in my dreams, in my daydreams, in my fantasies. You know what I mean? Just what would I do if I was in the same room with him? And I don't know the answer to that. Because there's so many. Is there a gun in the room? Is there a knife in the room? Is it just me and my hands, or is it? There's so many different things. Would I like to physically harm him? That would be great. Does my soul want that? No. Right? Am I gonna be upset when he passes? Probably not. No, probably not. The answer is no. Right? I will feel something for my younger sister. That's her actual father. So I do have sort of a compassion when it comes to her, that I don't, where I don't normally. I'll try to avoid saying too much negative in front of her about her dad, because I understand that they're connected and he's her father. But I don't know. I don't know what would happen. And it'll never happen. So I don't have to play that out or waste my time playing that out. I think I spent so much time in victimship. What is that word? victimization. I don't know. But I spent so much time in victim mode, so much of my life being a victim to it. And I was a victim to it. Let's not lie. I was a victim. You were a victim. We're all victims to it, right? But how long do we have to live in victim mentality? There's the word I was looking for. Yeah. We don't have to do that either, you know? I'd rather live in survivor mentality, right? I survived that. I survived a liver transplant. I survived physical abuse. I survived rape and sodomy and molestation and actually coming to the understanding within myself that I had one point in time lost and continued to keep it going, my personal power, my personal strength, and my will. Could I have stood up to the man who was physically harming me? Yes, I could have. Could I have put him in jail? Yeah. Did I? No. I would rather feel like I'm a survivor and that I can help somebody who's been through it, because I've been through it, or help somebody who's going through it because I've been through it. You've been through it, right? I'm assuming you probably haven't dealt with a lot of the trauma that you're not even aware is there because it hasn't come up yet, right? Because it's still new to you, even though it's been a little bit of time, right? You remembering it's still new to you.
Oh, well, my dreams have started to change to where I was powerless before. Now I can stand up to it and push him away, and so those dreams became more rare.
That's the answer to the question. Those things. That's how you know that you're in. I don't want to put healing as a whole. Some type of healing, right? Because the healing is a tablecloth over a table that has so many different words on it, right? At one point in time in the week, I could be healing from a bondage standpoint where I was held down or not able to move, or tied up or chained up and not able to move, right? And having to heal from that type of behavior. And other days I might be in healing from words that was said or words that kept me in bondage, right? So there's so many different little minute points that I've personally pulled out and been like, yep, not time. Right, put it back. Or pulled it up and said, okay, yeah, now it's time to face you, and it's time for me to unbondage myself from this man's bondage and no longer allowing him to control my emotions.
Yeah.
Because he was able to control my emotions from another country. From out of my life, he was able to control my emotions, whether I was angry, sad, depressed, mad, anything. I felt like he had control of those.
Right.
It wasn't until I met him, really, that he was asking me the questions and he was asking me what I needed. Because I don't think I even knew. I probably would have went the rest of my life just piece by piece by piece without being able to talk about it.
Silently suffering while you're claiming to survive. And you're surviving suffering only long enough to realize that you can't.
Which is the reason why we're doing this, everybody. This is the reason why we're just coming out and we're talking about it. And we invite you to come and talk about it with us. And we thank you for joining us today. Feel like we've kept you guys long enough, and we're going to do something with our lives tonight. So, Olga, you're so brave. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us what happened to you. We believe you and we validate you and we accept you
And thank you for sharing your pain with us.
and we accept your pain and we love you in your pain.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you for
And everybody else out there as well.
If you're in pain, connect. That's what they don't want us to do. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself who they is?
Mhm.
And I'm talking about everybody that's hurt you. They're
all
they.
of us. All of us voices are internalized.
And we'll let you know, we'll let everybody know when we're coming back on, and we'd love to see you again.
Thank
The
you.
other goes.
I'll be
Yes.
back.
Thank you guys all for showing up.
Yeah.
We just love you to death. Before we go, we had
Don't forget to like and share this because we want to make sure that they can feel this connection here. Because the more they realize that they can feel
Yeah.
connection in pain, the more we'll stop hiding it. You
yeah,
can't have connection without pain.
yeah.
Trust it.
And before we go, we'll just let you know that I am doing sexual abuse root camp. So if you've been sexually abused and you're struggling with this healing, let's talk. It's just me and you, one-on-one, going through this root camp, and we're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty and we're gonna get you into healing. So
It's
if you're
not to say you
interested,
can't have us both if you need us.
yeah, and yeah, we both can be there too, because you'll want to know. He don't, have to be there the whole time, but we can pull him in at certain times where you can ask him about how he
I know how
help
to
me.
I know how to oscillate between wounded masculine and divine masculine in a way that you'll be able to hear both answers.
Mhm.
Because sometimes they don't know how to say sorry for something that was done to them or that they repeated. Because there's a lot more to this. There's not just one person's hurting, a whole bunch of people are
Mhm.
hurting.
Yeah.
And if you can't have connection, how are you going to heal? So you all deserve that. So we're going to keep making sure we tell you that. And that's why we're going to keep putting videos out there and make sure that you know that we're here.
I am starting. Now I've got dry mouth. I am starting another sexual abuse class. We did it. Look
Brandon.
at you.
Brandon.
We did it. Gosh, what was it? January. I did one for 5
January,
weeks.
March.
5 weeks, 555 for 5 weeks. It's you, me, whoever. I don't go over 5 because I want to know everybody's stories. We want to be able to talk. We want to be able to communicate with each other. And we want to be able to really, really know one another so we can talk about this sex abuse, what happened to us, how it happened to us, how we dealt with this and how we dealt with that. So,
Amber Saints.
it's a great course. And if you're interested in joining that course, email us at relationshipreinvent@gmail.com. Thank you guys for joining us.